Welcome to The Wave. Welcome to Anchored. Welcome to whatever this is. It's all combined into one thing. And here we go on today's story. It is titled The Terrible Lie. And it is the story of Adam and Eve in the garden after God has created this beautiful world for people to live in and put Adam and Eve inside of it and live in this perfect world. It's beautiful, it's great. And then this story happens. So let's jump right in. Adam and Eve lived happily together in their beautiful new home, and everything was perfect for a while. Until the day everything went horribly wrong. God had a terrible enemy. His name was Satan. Satan had once been a beautiful angel, the most beautiful in all of heaven. But he didn't want to be just an angel. He wanted to be God. He grew proud and evil and full of hate, and God had to send him out of heaven. Satan was seething with anger and looking for a way to hurt God. He wanted to stop God's plan, stop this love story right there. So he disguised himself as a snake and waited in the garden. Now, God had given Adam and Eve only one rule. Come on, guys. Don't eat the fruit from that one very specific tree, God said. Because if you do, you will think you know everything. And you'll stop trusting me, and then death and sadness and tears will come into the world. You see, God knew if they ate the fruit, they would think he didn't need him. And they would try to make themselves happy without him. But God knew there's no such thing as true happiness without him. And life without him wouldn't be life at all. As soon as the snake saw his chance, he slithered silently up to Eve. Does God really love you? The serpent whispered. If he does, why won't he let you eat that nice, juicy, delicious fruit? Poor you. Perhaps God doesn't want you to be happy. The snake's words hissed into her ears and sunk down deep into her heart like poison. Does God love me? Eve wondered. Suddenly, she didn't know anymore. Just trust me, the serpent whispered. You don't need God. One small taste, that's all, and you'll be happier than you could ever dream. Eve picked the fruit and ate some. And then Adam ate some too. And a terrible lie came into the world, and it would never leave. It would live on in every human heart, whispering to every one of God's children, God doesn't love you. But it wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare. A dove flew from Adam's hand. A deer darted in a thicket. And it was as if they were frightened by something. A chill was in the air. Something strange was happening. They had always been naked, but now they felt naked and wrong. And they didn't want anyone to see them, so they hid. Later that evening, as God was taking a walk through the garden, he called to them, Children! Usually Adam and Eve loved to hear God's voice and would run to him, but this time they ran away from him and they hid in the shadows. Where are you? God called. Hiding, Adam said. We're afraid of you. Did you eat the fruit that I told you not to eat? God asked them. Adam said, Eve made me do it. And Eve said, the serpent made me do it. And a terrible pain came into God's heart. His children hadn't broken the one rule. They had also broken God's heart. And now he knew everything else would break. They had broken their wonderful relationship with him. God's creation was starting to unravel and would come undone and go wrong. From now on, everything would die, even though it was supposed to last forever. You see, sin had come into God's perfect world, and it would never leave. God's children would always be running away from him and hiding in the dark. Their hearts would break now and never work properly again. God couldn't let his children live forever, not in such pain and not without him. There was only one way to protect them. You will have to leave the garden, God said, with tears filling his eyes. This is no longer your true home. It's not the place for you anymore. But before they left the garden, God made clothes for his children to cover them. He gently clothed them and he sent them away on a long, long journey out of the garden, out of their home. Well, in another story, it would have all been over, and that would have been the end. But not in this story. God loved his children too much to let the story end there. Even though he knew he would suffer, God had a plan, a magnificent dream. One day he would get his children back. One day he would make the world their perfect home again, and one day he would wipe away every tear from every eye. You see, no matter what, in spite of everything, God will always love his children. God will always love you. With a never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love. And though they would forget him and run from him, deep in their hearts, God's children would always miss him and long for him. Lost children yearning for their home. Before they left the garden, God whispered a promise to Adam and Eve. It will not always be so. I will come to rescue you, and when I do, I'm going to do battle against that snake. I'll get rid of sin and darkness and the sadness that you let in here. I'm coming back for you. And he would. One day, God himself would come. And we learned that story just the other day when God comes down as Jesus, lives among us, teaches people, heals people, raises people from the dead, does all that great stuff. And then, in Holy Week, he died on the cross. And when he died, he took all of the sin and the brokenness and all the stuff that Adam and Eve let into this world. He took it on himself. He died. But he didn't stay dead because he is the strongest and the most powerful. He came back to life and went back up into heaven. And he gives us that same life. So if we are in Jesus, Jesus is in our hearts. The curse that Adam and Eve let into this world will no longer be our curse because we are with Jesus. Thank you, God, for everything that you did for us. See you guys tomorrow.